While in my last video, I covered all of Terraria's Easter eggs, those are by no means the only content in Terraria that's from other games, with a majority of them being a part of official collaborations, like the Terraria yo-yos. To be clear on what a crossover is, before getting into this video, this won't cover items that were added without an official collaboration, like the portal items, as those are either Easter eggs or references. But this will cover stuff like the Don't Starve Together items, since that was an official collaboration. Now that we got a clear idea as to what crossover content is, let's start looking at all of Terraria's crossover content. For the first collaboration we look at in this video, I thought we would look at the only one that had a real counterpart to it, which was Terraria's collaboration with One-Drop Yo-Yos. Back in 2015, when the 1.3 update came out, Terraria added 9 yo-yos made by One-Drop, like the Rally and Valor. And One-Drop released a real-life version of the Terrarian in 2015, a real-life version of the Kraken in 2016, and finally made a legendary version of the Terrarian in 2019. Although these are neat, they sadly were only available for a limited time, so now if you want one, you'll have to go through sites like eBay and hope for the best. Also, the footage of those yo-yos were provided to me by another Terraria content creator, Colt, who also made my end screen. So go check them out, as their content is amazing. Moving on to the most recent crossover as of this video, we have Core Keeper. This is a small but neat crossover we got in 2022, with Terraria only getting one item, which is the Glow Tulip. This is a new pet item that will summon a caveling, and it's actually one of the rarest items in the game as of right now. Kinda like the Dirt Block pet, only a certain amount of Glow Tulips will spawn in each world, with small worlds having 2, medium worlds having 4, and finally large worlds having 6, making it pretty hard to find. Moving on to what Core Keeper got in their game, they actually ended up getting King Slime added in as a boss, alongside a few King Slime themed drops like a chest, and finally an achievement. Moving on, the next crossover in Terraria we'll be looking at in this video is actually another game made by Relogic, which is Pixel Piracy. This is a game that was published by Relogic, and in 2014, to go along with the release of the game, the Falcon Blade, Gingerbread, this painting, and finally, the Pirate Staff, which will summon a pirate minion from Pixel Piracy, were all added to Terraria in this crossover. And as for Pixel Piracy, they ended up getting 4 swords from Terraria, like the Knight's Edge and True Excalibur. For the next crossover in this video, we'll be looking at the Dungeon Defenders one. In November 2016, both games partnered up and made arguably the most impactful crossover in Terraria, along with the one having the most content. To start, this crossover event is where we got the Tavern Keep NPC. We also got 4 new sets of armor, weapons, and accessories, which I have on screen now. After that, we also got 3 new pets, which were the Flickerwick, the Horde Dragon, and finally the Propeller Gatto. Besides all of the new items added though, this collaboration also added a new invasion to the game, which is the Old One's Army. This invasion is considered useless by a majority of the community, but it added a number of enemies from Dungeon Defenders 2, along with a new in-game currency. Moving on to what Dungeon Defenders 2 got in their game, it's also a huge list of new features, like making the Dryad a playable class which uses Terraria-themed attacks, added multiple Terraria weapons, like the Meowmere, and added the Forest biome as a new map, which also has the Eye of Cthulhu as a boss. Another massive collaboration Terraria had was their Don't Starve Together one in 2021, which is arguably the biggest crossover so far. To start, a new secret seed was added to Terraria named the Constant, which gives the game a filter that makes the game look like Don't Starve Together. Make marble biomes with spider nests spawn on the surface, and add a hunger feature. Besides the secret seed, there were also a ton of Don't Starve Together items added to Terraria. So much, in fact, that I won't be going over all of them here, since it would take too long, which is why I have this picture on screen now. Finally, the last thing Terraria got in this collab was the Deerclops boss, which is, of course, a boss in Don't Starve Together. Moving on to what Don't Starve Together got in their game, they got all 3 of the Eye of Cthulhu bosses, 5 new items based on the eyes, and finally, 26 new reskins for already existing items like the alchemy table. For the next crossover in Terraria, we have the Worms 3 collab. This collaboration might confuse you a bit, as depending on when and where you started playing Terraria, you might never even heard of it. Back in 2013, the 4 Worms crossover items were added to the mobile and 3DS versions, and they were pretty unique compared to the crossover items we got later on. First up, we had the Holy Hand Grenade, which is actually the highest damaging explosive in the game at 600 base damage, with the second highest only dealing 250 damage. Besides its high damage, it also had the highest explosive range in the game, with it being double of the second highest explosive range, which is dynamite. After the grenade, we also got two pets, with the first being a normal grandma pet summoned with a walking cane, and the more interesting one being a worm pet summoned with a green apple. I say this is more interesting because of its one-of-a-kind feature, where if you died while having the worm pet summoned, you would get a special worm-themed tombstone, which is also the last worm item added to Terraria. Moving on to what worms got, they got 6 hats and helmets from Terraria, and their own Terraria-themed tombstone as well. Although this crossover was neat, it was sadly removed from the mobile version alongside all of the console exclusive features which I covered in a past video, but luckily it's still on the 3DS version. Next up, we have possibly the smallest collaboration in Terraria, which is the Edge of Space one. In this crossover, Terraria only ended up getting one really good item, which is the SDMG. This is a powerful endgame weapon dropped by Moonlord, and was actually made unobtainable when it was first added, but as we all know, it was made obtainable not too long after. Finally, moving on to what Edge of Space got, they ended up only getting one thing as well, which was a boss based on Skeletron and its Prime version as well. And finally, for the last section in this video, we're going to talk about the crossover event that we've known about for a while now, which is the Dead Cells collab. This was originally announced at the start of 2023 alongside the 1.4.5 update, which brings me to my next point, which is that Terraria doesn't have their part of the collab in their game yet. While this may seem bad at first, we do know that we will be getting it in the 1.4.5 update, which has a planned release date for this year, so it's likely we won't have to wait too much longer. Dead Cells, on the other hand, already got their part of the collab, with the Star Fury being added as a weapon that you can find in a corruption-themed room, and a costume based on the guide as well. That wraps up our look into all of the Terraria crossovers. If you made it this far into the video, comment Terrarian, and also let me know what your favorite Terraria crossover is. Thanks for sticking to the end. Be sure to like and subscribe for more Terraria videos like this in the future. And as always, make sure to have a wonderful day.